We have 2 weeks remaining in the high school football season and 4 area teams still alive, including the 2-time defending Class 5A state champion Rome Wolves. Along with that, the GHSA might be shifting the date of the state championship games due to the Atlanta United soccer team. We'll talk about all 4 of our teams, especially the Rome Wolves, and the possible date change coming up now on Red Zone Rewind. Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Jim Allred, joined by my tag team partner, Ian Griffin, who's going to fist bump me. First time show, we got to get everything in there. Ian, great to have you on here.
Good to be here.
What's the first time feel like?
That feels great, Jim. Just excited to get this thing on the road. We've had a lot of great coverage this season and a lot of excitement surrounding the playoffs.
Definitely. Got to mention our sponsors, Hartman Clinic Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and Georgia Northwestern Technical College, who've helped us bring high school football highlights all season long. You can see all of them at readv3.com. And without further ado, let's get to that wonderful game this last Friday. Rome on the road at Dutchtown. Cold, wet, maybe miserable conditions. Ian, takeaways from the game.
I don't think it could have gotten much worse as far as the conditions, but I think the Rome Wolves got a much needed test on the road. They hadn't been tested since early in the season as the schedule was front loaded. So they certainly were tested by that Dutchtown defense. Fast, physical, big. They got after them, and it was a hard-hitting affair for 4 quarters. Most
definitely. One of the things that I thought was really big, the 3-headed monster on offense, I like to call him, Knox Ganem at quarterback, Xavier Roberts Donaldson at wide receiver, and of course, Jemias Griffin at tailback. All 3 of them had huge plays in that game to, when Dutchtown cut it to 7 twice in their late third quarter, then again in the fourth quarter, those huge plays paved the way for Rome to win.
Yeah, absolutely. You had a huge third down pickup and a catch over the middle in the first half that was amazing by Xavier. He pulled that ball in. It was a targeting penalty that went along with it. The fact that he held on to it was phenomenal. Knox Ganem had 3 touchdowns. He just knew when to keep it. Every time he needed to, he kept that read option and picked up big yards and made big plays. And then 40 carries for Jemias, amazing effort.
Most definitely. And we'll talk a little bit more about that read option and Knox Ganem and Jemias Griffin here when we talk about this week's game. Rome on the road again, heading to Warner Robins for the Class 5A state semifinal. Seems like we've been here and done this before. Last year, of course, Rome traveled down there and beat the tar out of Warner Robins for the Class 5A state title. Ian, you've been saying all year long to me this team was going for the three-peat. You didn't see a real hurdle. What's your take on the game Friday?
Well, Warner Robins will be ready and hungry for revenge. There's no doubt about that. Getting blanked on your home field in the state championship game is something you don't forget easily. So I expect Warner Robins to give Rome their best shot. Honestly, though, Jim, I think the keys in this game, the Rome gets off to a fast start. Don't give Warner Robins the opportunity to believe they can hang with you because there is a seed of doubt in their minds after last year's game that they can't. So I think getting off to a fast start, and then special teams, the Dutchtown game, they really struggled. Part of that was the conditions, I'm sure, but you had a punt that was shanked that really turned momentum in Dutchtown's favor, and then in the kicking game, you missed 2 extra points, 1 due to a snap and a field goal. It was a chip shot. So Rome needs to clean that up if they want to get the win against Warner Robins.
Most definitely. It really, and I've been a little bit opposite of Ian, although I've been filming all these games. I've said all along it's very, very difficult. I'll throw another very in there just for the heck of it, to win 3 consecutive state titles. I was around in Rome when West Rome won 4 straight, so I've seen the teams that can do it. I covered Buford do it when 3rd straight. They beat Calhoun back in AA several years ago. I was on the sidelines for that game. This is a phenomenal Rome High team. Before I say anything else, that's what I want everybody to remember. I still think it's a very tough task. On the sidelines in their game against Marietta and against Carrollton, and again last week against Dutchtown, Rome appears to me to have one weakness on defense, and of course that's really being nitpicky, is the long, deep out pass. And we know that Warner Robins is going to be able to throw that. Now that being said, Rome has the phenomenal coaching staff. They've done an amazing job. I know they're going to be ready for it, but it will not surprise me if Warner Robins scores. The key for me in all of it, no turnovers. Rome has not had many turnovers this year. They forced a lot of turnovers. As long as Rome continues to do that, Kadum, Griffin, and Roberts Donaldson stay healthy throughout the game, I think they'll be fine. I think they will beat Warner Robins. Oh goodness, I just gave away my prediction. Ian, what's your give us a score?
Yeah, honestly, I think that with Buford losing to Bainbridge last week, Rome overcame their biggest challenge on their way to a third straight state championship at Dutchtown last week. I was at the Warner Robins game last year. They lost some good guys up front that went on to play Division I ball. I know they're scoring a bunch of points, but I didn't see anything on that roster last year that made me think they'll be any better than they were last year. Now, Rome lost a lot on defense, and I agree they're a little undersized in the secondary, but the coaching of those players, the way they played those physical receivers from Marietta and Carrollton, really, they did a phenomenal job, even though they gave up a lot of yards and big plays. They also stopped a fair share of them as well. So I think Rome goes down. As long as they start fast, I think they win by 2-3 scores.
Gotcha. Would not surprise me at all. I'm going to say more like 14. I think Warner Robins is going to hit a couple of pass plays, but at the same time, it's Rome. They know how to win. They've won 40 straight games. That's the 7th longest streak in GHSA history. You know, when you're like that, it's hard. You know, you got to jump on that wagon and go. You mentioned Buford is out. Bainbridge is in.
Yeah.
However, I still think Stockbridge is going to
Yeah.
be a vicious test if Stockbridge gets past Bainbridge. Of course, we're talking ahead, and we'll talk about that in just a few minutes when we come back from this commercial break.
All right.
Welcome back to the show. We always love to thank our sponsors, Harbin Clinic Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, High Tech Signs, and of course Georgia Northwestern Technical College for helping bring Red Zone Rewind and all the high school football playoffs to readv3.com this year. Before the break, we were talking about Rome possibly getting to the state finals. Ian, the Atlanta United won on Sunday. We're taping this on Monday, so everything could go askew. But if everything holds and Atlanta United does get to the MLS championships, the state championship games get shifted from the 8th and the 9th to the 11th and the 12th of December. That's a Tuesday and a Wednesday. Rome would play Tuesday, I believe, at 4:30. What's your take on all this?
Well, I know there'll be a lot of unhappy parents out there after last year's snowpocalypse, too, that canceled the majority of the games. They got a few in before that happened, but at least they're doing this ahead of schedule. I think they are handling it right by going ahead and making the call now, because the odds are in Atlanta United's favor. From what I've seen, it's going to take a blowout loss for them to not have home field advantage. So I think that game's going to be there on the 8th. And for them to go ahead and make that call is the right thing to do.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, a Tuesday game, it definitely stinks in the grand scheme of things. You go from Tuesday and Wednesday, but at the same time, you get to play in the bins. And if there was one negative takeaway from last year with Rome winning, was the fact that I think those kids really wanted a chance to play in the bins. They played in the Dome the year before, helping shut the Dome down, but a lot of those players wanted to play in the bins. They didn't get a chance to this year take care of Warner Robins again, and you get to play in the bins, although it might be on a Tuesday instead of a Friday.
Yeah, and that'll be an interesting dynamic, but knowing that the schools will shut down to allow the fans to come down and watch the games, the atmosphere should be great regardless.
Obviously, and we want to make sure we mention our other area teams that are still alive and kicking in the playoffs. 3 other teams, one of them a little bit of a surprise. Calhoun, though, never a surprise that the Yellow Jackets are in the state semifinals. Class AAA state semifinals, I think they've won like 16, 17, 1,800 region titles in a row. But the opponent this time is a rematch of the Class AAA title game last year. Calhoun won it 10-6 over Peach County. Peach County will come to visit Calhoun on Friday night. Peach County did everything they could to overturn that win, saying there was a bad call. You know what? I've seen a lot of games. There are bad calls in all the games. Ian, can Calhoun get it done and beat Peach County again to get back to the finals?
You know, when I think about Calhoun, last year, a couple of early losses, uncharacteristic of that program, but then they went on to run the table in region play. They don't play in the strongest region, so going into the playoffs last year, I thought, I don't think Calhoun can get it done. And what do? They go win another state championship. They can win in a variety of ways. So last year, this was a defensive struggle, but Calhoun's offense has vastly improved in 2018. I think that'll be enough at home to carry them to a victory and another trip to the Benz.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you here. I think, yeah, Peach County's going to come in mad as Hornets. Guess what? You got Calhoun mad as Yellow Jackets. You don't win. Calhoun doesn't lose many games in that stadium. I've been there for multiple playoff games, multiple semifinal games. That place is jacked. They are loud. 2 hours before the game starts.
Yep.
Forget about 30 minutes before the game. 2 hours before the game, it's standing room only already. I have faith in Hal Lamb, his coaching staff. I do believe the Jackets will get back to the Benz, beat Peach County, although it would not surprise me if it comes down to late fourth quarter or even goes overtime.
It'll be a great game.
Last team to talk about, and this one is probably the one that when we started the season, not many people thought would reach the state semifinals, maybe not even the state quarterfinals. That is the Rockmart Yellow Jackets in Class AA, undefeated this season, first time in the state semifinals since 1988. I remember that Rockmart team. I saw them play. I was a sophomore at East Rome at the time. That dates me and how long ago it's been since they've been to the state semifinals. Ian, can Rockmart beat Callaway, who has been a persistent thorn in most Region 7 AA teams' side in the playoffs over the past 2 decades?
And Callaway is unquestionably a very talented and solid program. This Rockmart team last year, they won the region, a breakthrough year for them with a very young defense. Biff Parsons has taken a program that always has talent on the roster and instilled discipline, which is the difference in this Rockmart program, in my opinion. They play as a team, they play clean. They have a ton of speed, athletes on both sides of the ball. That defense that struggled a little bit last year is experienced now. It's a Cinderella slipper, but I'm going to put it on the Yellow Jackets stinger. I guess you put it on a stinger since they don't have feet. But I like Rockmart to win this game and get to the state championship.
You know what? Back in the day when I was at the Rome News Tribune doing Gridiron Central, a show you can look on YouTube and find out exactly what I'm talking about, Callaway ran into our teams from Region 7 AA multiple times. I remember, I think they knocked out Rockmart, they knocked out Pepperell. They knocked out some very, very good football teams. You know, Rockmart seems to have it this year. And the other thing about it too is, look, you haven't been to the semifinals since '88. That is a long time. Again, I've been talking about atmosphere and crowd, and for the first time in 30 years, you're going to host a state semifinal game. I expect that the Rock to be jammed.
Absolutely.
Way before game time, I expect them to bring it. Rockmart has the athletes. We've said that for years. They now have the coaching to go with those athletes and the discipline. I think, now I might be wrong, Lord knows I've been wrong a lot. I think next week we'll be talking about all 4 of these teams and how they're going to fare at the Benz in the state finals. So
Did we just agree on every game?
Crazily enough,
Amazing.
we just agreed on every game. We both look like crazy homers at the moment, but guess what? We might be right. So we'll have to check back. We're going to cut to a commercial break. We'll come back and wrap things up. Welcome back to the show. We'd love to thank our sponsors, Harbin Clinic Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, High Tech Signs, and Georgia Northwestern Technical College for helping us bring Red Zone Rewind to you all season long. Ian, closing thoughts on this. What are you expecting to see Friday night?
Well, I'll be down in Warner Robins watching that one live and in person, so I'm looking forward to seeing the Rome Wolves get to another state championship. I really think all these local teams have a great shot. Other than Rockmart, this is rematch semis all the way across the board there, so there's a lot of bad will between these teams. So I think it's going to be hard-hitting, solid action, but I like the home teams to get it done, Jim.
Well, I like the home teams in Rome to get it done. Because Rome's not the home team.
True.
Rome's not the home
For me, they're the home team, I suppose.
Exactly. So you'll be on the road there. I'm going to agree. I think we said this earlier. I think that all four of these teams are going to get it done. Our three home standers, and of course, the Road Warriors, the Rome Wolves this time around. And this time next week, we'll be talking about the Bends and what to expect.
Okay.
For Ian Griffin, I'm Jim Allred, doing a fist bump. Thanking our sponsors one last time, Harbin Clinic Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, High Tech Science, Georgia Northwestern Technical College, and we'll see you on the sidelines.